Hey guys, welcome into Contemporary Issue Wednesday. Today we're talking about a very important subject, nuclear proliferation. What is it? Is it good? Is it bad? Well, let's get into it. Okay guys, now many of you at home, many people around the world have very negative opinions towards nuclear weapons, and for good reason. They're the most destructive weapon that humans have ever created, and right now, if people launched even just half of their nuclear arsenal, the entire world would be plunged into annihilation and oblivion. But today, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here because I'm the realist, and we're going to look at every single argument and say that the proliferation or the advent of nuclear weapons, in an ironic sense, has actually made the world much safer. Hard argument to make, I know, but just bear with me, stay with me. Let's take you back to World War II. In 1939, the event that kicks off World War II, at least in Europe, is Hitler and Germany's invasion of Poland. Now, Poland obviously didn't have very big conventional forces. They couldn't really mount a good defense. But had you inserted nuclear weapons into the equation, that is, if Poland had had nuclear weapons, do you think that Germany would have invaded? And the vast majority of people would say no, it's a suicide mission. If a country wants to invade another country that has nuclear weapons and wage all-out war against that country, the ultimate deterrent for having someone invade you is that you have nuclear weapons. And so in an ironic sense, even though nuclear weapons are horrifically devastating, it's precisely because of that horrific devastation that it causes people, big nations in particular, to think twice before they invade a country. And that's why since World War II, even though we had a lot of sort of proxy wars between the big nations, you've never had the US fight the Soviet Union or China in its own fight the US in its own. They fought again a proxy war in Korea. But you haven't had these big nation against nation conflicts like you had in World War I and World War II. And even as bad as some of these proxy wars have been, and they have been bad, you can see the casualties from previous wars just shoot down in the second half of the 20th century and at the beginning of the 21st century. And that is thanks in large part due to the deterrence of nuclear weapons. Now, the flip side of this argument is this. Because nations see how powerful nuclear weapons are, they will do whatever they can, many will pay whatever price they can to obtain nuclear weapons. Because if you have nuclear weapons, that's the ultimate trump card, that's sort of the ultimate protection power that you have as a state. And so this is most noticeable in North Korea. North Korea is suffering more than any nation by far because it's under such devastating economic and other sanctions because it's trying to develop a nuclear weapon. And it's gotten it basically has developed a nuclear weapon. It's just now trying to put it on missiles so it can fire it to Japan, South Korea, and the US. The reason why North Korea will go to such lengths, subject its people to such privation, is because it knows once it has a nuclear capability, its regime, its country is safe from attack. Because who's going to attack North Korea when you know you're going to get bombed? Particularly South Korea, because Seoul, the capital city of South Korea, is right up on the border of North Korea. If North Korea has nuclear weapons, South Korea decides to invade, you could bet North Korea is going to try to blow Seoul into tomorrow. So again, this demonstrates that nuclear weapons are the ultimate deterrent from attack. You can see the flip side of this argument when you look at Libya, because Libya, under Gaddafi, was developing nuclear weapons, but in 2003 signed an agreement that said we're not going to pursue our nuclear weapons program, we're going to roll back our nuclear weapons program, and then 10 years later, the US and NATO invaded and toppled Gaddafi. And the argument is, well, had Gaddafi kept going with his weapons of mass destruction program, he wouldn't have been toppled. And so NATO inadvertently just presented the best evidence why states should do everything they can to get their hands on a nuclear weapon. Now, the big worry here isn't that states will use nuclear weapons against states. The bigger worry is that states will funnel weapons to non-state or terrorist organizations. So you can think of places like North Korea, Pakistan, and probably the pinnacle of this argument would be Iran, which is why the US and most other nations do not want Iran to get nuclear weapons because they fear that Iran will give it to Hezbollah or other terrorist organizations to use against Israel or Saudi Arabia. That's the big worry with nuclear proliferation. It's not necessarily that big states will use it against other big states, although I guess that can never be wiped off the table, but I'm saying because of mutually assured destruction, that's probably not likely to happen because the retaliation would be so severe. The bigger worry is that smaller states, irresponsible states, will either give nuclear material or provide nuclear scientists to non-state actors for nefarious, terrorist, asymmetrical uses of force. And so that's what we really need to be worrying about. Okay, do you buy this argument that nuclear weapons have made the world ironically more safer? Are you saying that's bullcrap because even if there's a 1% chance that any state uses it, it plunges us into nuclear oblivion and it's not worth the risk? Comment below, let me know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, reality always, always, always trumps ideology.